I still remember that afternoon like it was stitched into my memory. Quiet, ordinary, and completely unremarkable until it wasn't. I was sitting alone in a small cafe, the kind where no one really looks at anyone else. Just soft music, clinking cups, and people lost in their own lives. I had just finished a long, exhausting workday. My mind was heavy, my heart even heavier. Life hadn't been kind lately, not after what he did to me. 3 months earlier, my fiancé, someone I trusted with everything, walked out of my life without warning. No explanation, no closure, just a message that said, "I need something different." And just like that, I was left picking up the pieces of a life I thought was already built. That cafe had become my quiet escape, a place where I could sit with my thoughts without pretending to be okay. That's when I noticed him. He was sitting 2 tables away, mid-30s maybe, simple clothes, tired eyes, the kind of eyes that looked like they hadn't slept in days. He kept checking his wallet, then the menu, then his phone, as if hoping something would magically change. I didn't know his story. I didn't know his name, but I recognized that look. It was the same look I saw in the mirror every morning. Someone silently struggling, trying to hold it together. When the waiter came with his bill, I saw the hesitation, the slight panic, the quiet embarrassment, and without thinking too much, I made a decision. As I walked to the counter to pay for my own coffee, I quietly told the cashier, "Add his bill too, but don't tell him it was me." The cashier looked surprised, but nodded. I didn't wait around. I didn't want thanks. I didn't want attention. I just wanted to do something good, something small, that might make someone else's day a little easier. Because sometimes, when your own world feels broken, helping someone else feels like the only way to breathe. So I walked out of that cafe, thinking that was the end of it. But what I didn't know that day was that this small silent act was about to come back into my life in a way I never could have imagined. And when it did, it didn't just surprise me. It changed everything. Conflict and betrayal. A week later, I was called into my boss's office. Now, I had been working at that company for 5 years. I was loyal, hardworking, dependable. It wasn't my dream job, but it was stable. And after everything I'd been through, stability meant everything. But the moment I walked into that room, something felt off. There were 2 other people sitting there, one from HR and a man I had never seen before. "Well," my boss said with a forced smile, "we've been reviewing some internal issues." My stomach tightened. The man looked at me, calm but distant, and said, "There have been some financial inconsistencies tied to your department." I felt my heart drop. "What? That's not possible," I replied instantly. "I've done everything by the book." But they didn't look convinced. Files were placed in front of me. Transactions, numbers, records, and somehow, everything pointed back to me. I couldn't breathe. "I didn't do this," I said, my voice shaking. "You have to believe me." But belief wasn't something they were offering that day. By the end of that meeting, I was suspended pending investigation. Just like that, my stability was gone. Again. I walked out of that office feeling numb, angry, broken all over again. Why does this keep happening to me? I whispered to myself. Days passed, and things only got worse. Calls unanswered, emails ignored. People I once worked with avoided me like I was already guilty. And then, something even more painful surfaced. The person who had access to those financial systems, besides me, was my former fiancé. The same man who walked away without a word. The same man who had quietly disappeared from my life. And suddenly, everything started to make sense. He hadn't just left me. He had set me up. The betrayal hit deeper than anything before. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. This was destruction. I spent nights crying, questioning everything, wondering how someone I loved could go this far. But somewhere in that pain, something shifted. I stopped asking why and started asking what now. Because if life had taught me anything, it was that staying broken wasn't an option. I had to fight back. I just didn't know how yet, until one unexpected knock on my door changed everything. Ending, revenge, climax, and moral. I opened the door cautiously, and there he was, the stranger from the cafe. For a moment, I just stared, confused. You? He gave a small, warm smile. Hi, I think we need to talk. I was too stunned to react. He introduced himself and explained everything. That day in the cafe, it wasn't just a random moment. He was actually an internal auditor, brought in quietly by my company to investigate financial fraud. He had been observing people, watching patterns, and that day, he had just received news that confirmed something was wrong inside the system. And then, he said gently, you did something unexpected. What? I asked. You helped me without knowing who I was. No reason, no benefit. I stayed silent. He continued, people show their true character in small moments. And yours didn't match the profile of someone capable of what they were accusing you of. My chest tightened. So I looked deeper, he added, and what he found changed everything. My ex-fiancé had been manipulating the system for months, redirecting funds, covering his tracks, and when things started getting risky, he used my access to shift the blame onto me. But he didn't expect someone to keep digging. The stranger said. Tears filled my eyes, not from sadness this time, but from relief. Within days, the truth came out. The evidence was undeniable. My name was cleared. My job was restored. And him, he lost everything. Not just his job, but his reputation, his credibility, his future in that industry. I didn't confront him. I didn't need to. Because sometimes, the strongest revenge isn't loud. It's silent. It's truth. Weeks later, I found myself back in that same cafe. Same table, same quiet atmosphere. But this time, I wasn't broken. I wasn't lost. I was whole. I saw the stranger again. This time, we shared a small smile. No words were needed, because we both knew that one small act of kindness had changed the course of everything. And if there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's this. Not every betrayal destroys you. Some reveal who you really are, and sometimes the good you put into the world finds its way back to you when you need it the most.